That dot on the map? It's not keeping you safe. It's training you to believe that love lives in surveillance. And the person you're tracking? They can feel the weight of your gaze, even when they're exactly where they're supposed to be. Let me show you something. It's 11:47 p.m. You're not tired enough to sleep, not awake enough to do anything useful. Your phone is face down on the nightstand, and there's this itch, this whisper in the back of your skull that sounds like anxiety but feels like love. Just check. Not because you think they're cheating, not because they're in danger, just because the not knowing sits in your chest like static. So you open the app, zoom in on their dot, see it resting exactly where it should be, their apartment, the library, their friend's place. You exhale, 3 seconds of relief, then the itch crawls back, and tomorrow night, you'll scratch it again. If this is you, I need you to understand something. You haven't just developed a habit, you've turned your relationship into a slot machine, and your brain is pulling the lever. Here's what's actually happening underneath. You're not checking because you care. You're checking because you're anxious. And there's a difference. Psychologists call it attachment anxiety, but that sounds too clean. What it really is, your nervous system screaming, "Prove to me they're still there," every single night. And the app? It's the pacifier you give a screaming brain. You check. They're there. Dopamine spike. Nervous system calms down for 3 seconds. Then the anxiety floods back in. Because your brain figured out something crucial. The dot doesn't actually tell you anything. It can't tell you if they're happy, if they're pulling away, well, if they're thinking about someone else, if they're physically present but emotionally gone. It just tells you where their phone is. So you're not getting certainty. You're getting the illusion of certainty. And your brain, it's hooked on the illusion like it's oxygen. Every time you check and they're where they said they'd be, you teach your brain one thing. This works. Do it again. But here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. You're not solving the anxiety, you're feeding it. The real fear underneath, the quiet terror that maybe you're not enough, that maybe they'll leave, that maybe you can't actually trust them. You're not addressing any of that. You're just outsourcing your emotional regulation to a dot on a map that knows less than you do. And that dot, it's making everything worse. Because while you're tracking them, they're feeling tracked. Self-determination theory says humans need 3 things to feel okay: competence, connection, and autonomy. Control over their own life. When someone knows where you are every second of every day, that control evaporates. Even if they agreed to share their location, even if they said it was fine, there's this quiet pressure that builds. This feeling that someone's always watching. That you can't just disappear for an hour without an explanation. And that pressure doesn't feel like love. It feels like surveillance. So they start pulling back, not because they're hiding something, because being watched all the time makes you want to hide anything. It makes you want privacy, not because you have secrets, but because you need space to be a person instead of a dot. And here's where it gets cruel. The more they pull back because they feel tracked, the more you check because you feel them pulling back. You feel the distance, so you check more. They feel more watched, so they pull back more. And the app you thought would bring you closer is the thing pushing you apart. Now, here's the part that's going to sting. Trust isn't built when you already know the answer. Trust is built when you don't know, but you believe anyway. When they come home late and you don't open the app. When they're vague about their night and you don't demand a digital alibi. When you sit in the not knowing and decide, I trust them anyway. That's the muscle. The app feels like a shortcut to trust, but it's not. It's a bypass, and what you bypass, you never build. So what do you actually do? First, ask yourself why you're checking. Be brutally honest. If they gave you a reason not to trust them, lies, cheating, broken promises, then the problem isn't the app, it's the relationship. And no amount of tracking will fix a relationship that's already broken. But if it's just anxiety, if it's just this vague, shapeless fear that something could go wrong, that's yours to work on, not theirs to solve with a dot on a map. Try this. Turn it off for 1 week, just one. The first few days you'll feel like you're going insane. That's withdrawal. That's the loop screaming for its fix. Your brain will invent scenarios. It will catastrophize. It will insist that not knowing equals danger. But if you push through, something shifts. You start realizing that not knowing is survivable, that your partner can be out of sight without being out of reach. And when they come home, when they text you, when you see them, you feel relief that's actually earned, not borrowed from an app. Look, I'm not saying location sharing is evil. For safety, for logistics, sure, use it. But when it becomes a nightly ritual, when you can't sleep without checking, when the dot controls your mood more than the actual person does, That's not safety anymore, that's addiction. And addiction has no place in love. So tonight, when that urge hits, when your thumb hovers over the app, when that itch starts crawling up your spine, pause. Ask yourself this: am I checking for them? Or am I checking because I forgot how to trust? The answer might scare you, but it's the only way out. If this hit home for you, please subscribe. And if you want to support these deep dives, hit that join button to become a channel member. I would genuinely appreciate your support.